guys already know this the main one tapping in all the way from H-Town, Houston, Texas. I'm here with my boy T.A.G.
T.A.G.
T.A.G sucks.
T.A.G, very nice, very evil.
T.A.G's gonna kill you.
That's T.A.G shit.
Whose house? T.A.G's house, baby.
The only thing we're gonna do is take over, baby.
Oh, it's true. It's damn true.
Free fall as I die through the kaleidoscope in my mind. No rope up to climb. Gotta remind myself that I'm fine. Mama.
What it is, what it was, and what it do, T.A.G Nation. It's your boy, the disembodied voice of Big ScooterRay, here with another episode of that NXT.A.G. because we are on the road to NXT's first PLE on CW Great American Bash. Remember, it is next Sunday, 6 p.m. It's roughly going to be a 3-hour show because y'all know when you're watching NXT on the CW, 9 o'clock or whatever the 2-hour time span hits, cut off for the news, baby. So they're giving it an extra start time of 6 o'clock. So that way, you know, the whole show can be shown in its entirety, hopefully. But with the events of tonight, pretty much the card is set. And I'll run down everything that they announced, but pretty much the card is set except for one match. One match still needs to get the competitors, but for the most part, Great American Bash card is set. And the show kicks off with Zarya. She comes out and she's pretty much trying to be happy at the fact that she's finally a champion in NXT. And then she was like, I know how things can get, I know how things go. And then literally Zarya may have had 2 good minutes to herself before Kalani comes out. And Zarya is like, what do you want? And she was like, look, you ain't got the title I want, so I really don't want nothing. But as the first women's North American champ, I can give you some pointers and some advice, you know, and things like that. And Zarya wasn't really trying to hear it. And then Kendall comes out, and Kendall, it was no reason. Only because, you know, Kalani was talking about how she should be #1 contender. This, that, third, so forth, so on. So Kendall is out there. She starts talking. Lola comes out there, of course. And then all the women are yelling. Stone comes out. And they're like, Stone, we know Lola and Kendall versus Zarya and Kalani in a tag team match. And they was like, yeah, okay. That's why y'all the best women's division in the world. So, main event, Lola, Kendall versus Zarya and Kalani. Tag team match, main event. But the first match to kick things off to determine who will be the #1 contender for Miles Bourne at the Great American Bash, you have Tavion Heights taking on Vanity Project's Jackson Drake. This is my thing. I don't mind Vanity Project as far as what their characters are supposed to be, what they're supposed to do, what they're supposed to bring, all of that. I don't mind it. The thing that makes Vanity Project such a unique situation for me is the fact that they're so vanilla. They're so plain. They're not like bringing, like, they have that whole the Gen Z, I guess, and all of this, and we're supposed to be pretty boys. Once again, it comes off very 2026 Mean Street Posse. It does, but it's something missing with them, and I just don't know what it is. I don't know what it is missing with Vanity Project, but it's something they need to set apart, because like if you're trying to hold up a weird mirror, just walk with me, follow me here. If you're looking at Vanity Project minus Micah, it's 3 of them. And if you look at that Vanity Project, they're supposed to be sort of the mirror to Fatal Influence. Kind of like how the Rowdy Rough Boys was the mirror to the Powerpuff Girls. But Vanity Project just isn't bringing that little je ne sais quoi like Fatal Influence has. Especially now since Fatal Influence is on the main roster doing the damn thing. So I don't know. But in the midst of this match, Baylor and Smokes did try to interfere. Bourne comes out. He pulls them both, which allows Tavion to hit his finisher. Boom. Tavion gets the dub. Now, upon Tavion getting the dub, he's getting in Miles Bourne face, talking about he didn't need his help, this, that, and the third. But hey, he's finally getting his title shot at the Great American Bash. Remember I told you, the card is set. So one of your matches for the Great American Bash, Tavion Heights, Miles Bourne, North American Championship. Then there was a moment after last week that they recap where Hank and Tank was in Stone's office with Aaron Rourke, Evolve champion, and the comedian, which once again, I did not catch that comedian's name. And they was pretty much talking about the whole NXT Mr. NXT situation and all of these things, and how Hank and Tank had to play security, all of these things. And then Birthright comes in, Birthright being Birthright, and it does set up a match for Hank and Tank to take on two members of Birthright. And I forgot which two members. I feel like it was going to be Charlie and Uriah were the two that's going to go against Hank and Tank next week, but segment. And then we get to our speed tournament, and of course I will be breaking it into two parts. So the first match of the speed tournament, you got Izzy Dame taking on Thea Hale. Of course, Izzy has the Cullen, and I'm trying to think about how I can say it without it sounding the way it's gonna sound. And no pun intended. I don't like how Izzy Dame, or they made Izzy Dame kind of just move on. Like, they're making her seem like she needs some type of championship to be valid, or she needs some type of championship to kind of matter. Because she had the Women's North American Championship, she lost it. Then they was like, okay, get her into the title picture. She lost, and now it's like, okay, let's get her into the Speed Championship because, you know, we think that she can, you know, and it's like, in the span of like 2 months, because let's just say for S&G purposes, Izzy wins. Izzy goes against Sinclair, and let's just say Sinclair wins. So in the span of like 2 months, Izzy will have went for every women's championship and lost, including one she lost herself. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, I don't know. It's like they're putting the Cullen in this weird position right now. But Izzy does get the victory. I say all that to say Izzy does get the dub. And more on the second speed match later. So we do have a segment of the Ren QCC, which is Ren Sinclair, who I just mentioned, and Kendall. They're both back there talking, and they're pretty much saying that, you know, after Sunday, they're going to both be champions, and this and the third. Of course, Lola overhears it, and Lola was like, what you mean both of y'all going to be champions? Pretty much Lola was like, girl, you ain't getting this belt off me. So chill until the next episode. And then we get to our segment of Tony D and Naraku. So Tony D gets an invitation. Naraku is kind of like in this park, and they're pretty much having a conversation. And Tony D he's trying to give, so in the process of the conversation, he's trying to give a rundown of Naraku's accomplishments pre WWE / NXT. Without saying it, he was IWGP heavyweight champion, and he was like, "Yeah, you had 14 other different championships and this and the third when you was in Japan, and I know you've always had a crew. I know you always, you necessarily didn't do it by yourself. You didn't really respect to the Japan traditions and things. So how am I supposed to expect you're gonna, respect this because I know you're coming after me and my championship?" And to me, I feel like Tony D was kind of halfway spoiling it, because I feel like he's pretty much saying, sorry, I had to get a drink of that water, that, hey, Naraku, you're not known for winning championships on your own. Somebody is going to help you, kind of thing. And it was like, and then Tony D signs the contract, and Naraku was like, well, I signed in due time. Well, you only got like a week since the show is next weekend. But, and then, when Tony D walks away, Naraku kind of shouts out, "Evil is coming," kind of situation. And it was like, okay, we'll see what happens. It was kind of like okay, we'll see what happens. But Tony D and Naraku are supposed to have the official contract signing, along with Lola and Kendall are supposed to have their official contract signing in the ring, I guess, together. Once again, 2 other matches: Naraku, Tony D for the NXT Championship, Lola, Kendall for the Women's NXT Championship, all happening at the Great American Bash. We get a segment. Keanu Carver is pretty much in Stone's office, still like, hey, I want a match, I want an opponent. In comes EK Prosper, and he pretty much says EK Prosper is going to be your opponent next week. And Keanu was like, man, get this dude out of here. You want him to be my opponent, man? You know what I'm about to do to boy, kind of situation. And EK, stood up for himself. EK was like, say, dog, I told you you need some humbling, big dog, and I'm going to be the one to go ahead and do it for you because you've been a little too reckless. So I'm going to go ahead and be the one to give you that humbling that you've been asking for, kind of energy. And pretty much that was kind of it. Now, arguably the best match of the night, Jada Parker taking on the low-key legend Natty Neidhart. And if you didn't know how this was building up, Natty pretty much called Jada soft. Jada didn't like that, so there's been a bunch of back and forth. Eventually, Jada did kind of attack Natty at the Heart Dungeon, and now we're here. This, funny enough, the way this match went, this could have been on Great American Bash. This easily could have been a Great American Bash match. Easily. This could have been on Great American Bash. The way they was going at it and doing, and these ladies was not playing. They was trading submissions. They was trading strikes. They was targeting body parts and things like that. Ultimately, it did lead to Natty hitting that sharpshooter on Jada. Jada fought, but ultimately she did tap. Now, since I don't watch Evolve and things like that, I don't understand what's the significance of Nikita Lyons. I think that was Carmen Petrovic that was with Natty, and it's like, is it supposed to be like a stable kind of situation when they came out and celebrated with Natty? So it was like, all right, cool. But yes, easily the best match of the night. Like, I love the back and forth. I love the action. I'm still waiting for them to give my girl Jada something. Like, it's still criminal that she has been in NXT and has been as popular as she's been, and still nothing. nothing. Nathaniel. Like, that needs to be rectified. Then we move on to a segment with Mason Rook talking to Lizzie Rain. Sorry, I just had a minor brain fart there. And they was pretty much just talking about how they want to each become champions so they could be champion together, but it didn't work out because Cam won that number one contenders match and Lizzie lost her match against Tatum Paxley. So, and then Tristan Angels comes and he's like, I'm gonna be the one that's gonna represent England because I'm now Mr. NXT Evolve champion Aaron Rourke. He shows up and he's like, fam, how you gonna be Mr. NXT when Shiloh won? And he was like, well, per pageant rules, Shiloh got injured when he beat up Shiloh. So since he can't fulfill his duties, it automatically defaults to me kind of energy. And then pretty much Tristan and Aaron was kind of going back and forth, and pretty much Aaron was like, yeah, I have a match with you. And Tristan was like, well, shit, put up that title then. And Aaron was like, bet. And he was like, look, I seen you in the Speedo because I was judging the swimsuit contest. And just like that, you gonna come up short, big dog. And Tristan walk off, and then Mason and Lizzie was like, damn, he ain't have to do him like that. Then we get to our second speed championship match. Ariana Grace of Birthright taking on Layla Diggs. Of course, Ariana has the whole crew. Layla solo dolo. Good back and forth. And I can appreciate, them bringing in Layla. I can appreciate. Oh, Corey Graves was on commentary with Vic Joseph. Book, according to Vic, Book is on a much needed vacation. So I hope it is just that, because I don't want Booker T off my TV, y'all. I said it. But Corey Graves was talking about how Layla wrestled a match for main event that we could see Thursday, and he got a chance to meet her and how impressed he is with her. So, Graves was doing a good job with putting Layla over. But he was saying he could tell about, the inexperience and her getting used to everything and all of those things. But there was a moment Layla had the upper hand, but Birthright was interfering. So when she did her moonsault to Birthright, you could see Ariana looking up, playing possum. And literally, she hit the playing possum finisher on Layla Diggs and got the 1, 2, 3. So next week, Ariana Grace, Birthright, Izzy Dame of the Cullen will take on. They will fight each other to see who Ren Sinclair is fighting at Great American Bash. So there you go. Then we get to a segment where Romeo Moreno, Noam Dar, Dorian Van Du, and Sean Legacy are back there talking. And they pretty much talking about how Noam and Romeo are becoming a team. And Dorian is looking and he's seeing the Cullen walks by, and he's telling Sean, hey, maybe we need to do the same. So I don't know if that was his way of saying he wanted to kind of join the Cullen, or he really wants to be a tag team. Like, I don't know. It was kind of weird, but that's pretty much how that segment went. Then we get a Saquon Sugar segment, and he's pretty much, going through his life, talking about how, his upbringing coming up and gotten into wrestling, and how pretty much Dion Cutler and Osiris weren't wrestlers, that they came in and became wrestlers and they needed me. And this is how they do me kind of energy. So, and they did announce Saquon, Dion, Great American Bash. And then Dion was watching the segment and he was like, all right, bet. So they did announce next week that Saquon and Dion are supposed to have a face-to-face come next week. Then we get to our main event, Lola, Kendall, Kalani, Zarya. This was an okay tag team match. It was okay. It wasn't like a must-see kind of situation, but it was okay, especially since, they were trying to play on the whole aspect of can't champ and challenger get along, since since Lola and Kendall will be fighting each other at Great American Bash. But considering Zarya just became Women's North American Championship, and they got her wrapped up in this, and it's like she kind of has nothing to do with this. It's been between Lola, Kendall, and Kalani is still sour at the fact that she lost, but fine, we're here. Tatum does show up to distract Zarya, and then from that, Lola does end up getting the dub with, you know, hitting the spinning back fist and everything, and then it led to Zarya and Tatum eventually fighting, and then Kendall and Lola are kind of having to stare down. Kalani is just kind of there watching, and then when Lola holds up the belt, Kalani snatches the belt. Then when Kendall tried to snatch the belt from Kalani, Kalani did one of the things where she let it go, and from that it smacked Lola in the face. So Kendall is being all apologetic, like, "Oh my God, I'm sorry." Da, 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 da. Kalani is just laughing, and Lola's on the ground. And that's pretty much how the show ended. Pretty much. So, like I mentioned before, and of course I will mention it come next week when we do the Go Home show. But as of right now, Great American Bash, Dion, Saquon grudge match, Lola Vice, Kendall Gray, NXT Women's Championship, Naraku, Tony D, NXT Championship. We're gonna have Women's Speed Championship. The winner out of Izzy Dane and Ariana Grace is taking on Ren Sinclair. And we also gonna have Miles Bourne, Tavion Heights. So far, that is your card for Great American Bash. I don't know if they're gonna add anything else. I guess we'll have to wait till next week. But yeah, Great American Bash is shaping up to be a pretty solid PLE for the first one on CW. Now, I know it's going to be weird on CW too, because now we're going to get the aspect of commercials and things like that. But I guess that's why they also giving it that 3-hour buffer too. So, but we'll see. We shall see. And with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, this episode of NXT.A.G is over and done. Thank y'all for tuning in. Thank y'all for rocking and listening to the boy. Shout outs to yourselves. And shout outs to my tag brother, Lip Bizzle, Jaeger Bombastic, Juggernaut, Leo. And with that being said, love one another, love yourself, take care of one another, and take care of yourself. Please, please, please. And until next time, you beautiful, beautiful people out there, don't forget to tag out. Peace.
Free fall as I die through the kaleidoscope in my mind. No rope up to climb. Gotta remind myself that I'm fine. Mama.